Good morning, students. As you know that I teach you History of English Literature, Unit 3. In that, I will teach you today Pre-Raphaelite poetry, or you can say Pre-Raphaelite movement. The Pre-Raphaelite movement seems at first sight something apart from the mainstream of Victorian literature. It has no concern either with domestic ideals or with scientific and philosophic problems. Its chief concern with art, and it emphasizes especially the connection between poetry, painting, and the plastic arts. In fact, the pre-Raphaelite poets drew their inspiration from the works of Italian painters before Raphael, in whom they found sweetness, depth, and sincerity of devotional feeling, a self-forgetfulness, and humble adherence to truth, which were absent from the sophisticated art of Raphael and his successors. Students, the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood was established in England in 1848 to revive the ideals of painting, simplicity, sincerity, naturalness that inspired the Italian painters like Giotto and Bonzo. It was an idealistic reaction against dictatism and preoccupation of poets and novelists with the contemporary society. In a reign of Queen Victoria, there was a growing tendency to make literature a handmaid of social reform and an instrument of propagation of moral ideas and conventionality. It was against this realism and literature being the criticism of life that a set of high-souled artists met and formed the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood in 1848. The original members of this group were D.Z. Rossetti, Holman Hunt, and G.E. Mellès, and later it was joined by two notable poets, Morris and Swinburne. Now we have to discuss here characteristics of Pre-Raphaelite poetry. The first point is an extension of Romantic revival. Rickett calls it the logical development of Romantic revival. It is characterized by the revival of medievalism and Hellenism. On the poetical side, the Pre-Raphaelites derive from Keats even more than from Scott in their idealism and devotion to beauty. The second point is medievalism. Medievalism inspired the Pre-Raphaelites, but their medievalism was different from the genial but slightly superficial medievalism of Scott, and even from more abstract but narrow and conventional medievalism of Tennyson. Now, my third point is art for art's sake. The Pre-Raphaelites had no moral, didactic, or philosophical purpose. Like Keats, who was a constant source of inspiration to them, they were worshippers of beauty and aimed at achieving perfection of form. Their main purpose was to depict or create beauty for its own sake. Fourth point is picturesqueness. Like the poetry of Keats, the Pre-Raphaelite poetry abounds in vivid and sensuous word pictures. The aim of these poets was to create the effect of landscape painting in poetry. Fifth point is love of symbolism. Another remarkable characteristic of this movement was its love of symbolism. This is a medieval note, and Rossetti learned this secret from Dante, William Morris, and A.C. Swinburne, two abundantly used symbolism. Sixth point is music and melody. The Pre-Raphaelites paid great attention to vowel music. to artistic meters and to choice of musical words. In Rossetti, we often come across consummate triumphs of word music. In Swinburne, the word and vowel music had been carried to an extreme, and he can often sacrifice sense for the sake of sound. Now, the pre-Raphaelite poets cannot be compared with the art of such great Victorian poets as Tennyson and Browning. Victorian literature, at its greatest, in intensely humanistic and vital. The pre-Raphaelite poetry, which is devoid of human touch, cannot be ranked high order of poetry. However, these poets influenced the English essayists and by Oscar Wilde. Now, here the point is that who are the pre-Raphaelite poets? So, as I have written in my notes here, many many poets, those who have given contribution in pre-Raphaelite movement, they have given their contribution in a great amount of poetry and also their art of beauty and pictorial element in their poems. So among this, the little band of followers that clustered round D.Z. Rossetti in the earlier part of his career was William Morris, who signalized his career by writing a number of poems, short and long, in which the aspirations and hopes, longings and wistful gazings of pre-Raphaelite brotherhood were nicely presented. At last, I would like to conclude my lecture that pre-Raphaelites rendered a distinct service to art by insisting that not the business of the artist to instruct or to solve social problems. The pre-Raphaelite poetry had its day during the life of its exponents and practitioners, but as time advanced, charges of decadency began to be brought against this type of poetry, and it was asserted that the poets of this school, in divorcing themselves from the life around them and building for themselves an ivory tower of art, beauty, and sensuousness. Thank you.